Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Force Chatter. We have a very special episode for you tonight, despite the fact that Tim is here. We have with us Savannah from the Dorky Diva and a bunch of other various different things that she does, and we're going to go over the whole list of things.
She just dropped.
She just dropped.
Oh
no.
Hey, technology.
Tim,
folks.
this is your fault somehow.
The introduction was that bad.
There she is. Welcome back.
Sorry.
All right.
Hey.
You missed all the good things we said about you. I had like this whole
my
list
gosh.
of like you saving the world and, you know, eliminating world hunger and all this stuff.
Can you just do that again?
No, it's too late. It's a live stream. So, yeah, we already missed it. Sorry.
I'll just have to watch it.
That's true. You'll have to watch it later. So anyway, yes, Savannah, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm great. Thank you
Awesome.
for having me. My internet just decided to die like right as we started.
Of course.
But I think we're good now.
It's like it knew right when, okay, 1, 2, 3, go, and we're done.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a lot of things on your plate. We're going to start with the dorkydiva.com. That seems to be your central hub where people can go to find your various different projects. But I want you to kind of go over the projects and kind of introduce our listeners to all of the different things you do, both in Star Wars fandom and then outside of that.
Okay. So I have the dorkydiva.com, which is my blog, and I've been blogging in the Star Wars like fandom space since I was, I think, 13. So
Wow.
about 12 years now. On Blogger, if anybody remembers Blogspot,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
that was a thing. I had a Blogspot blog. And then several years after that, I decided I kind of wanted to like update my blog and be a little more grown up. So I created the dorkydiva.com, and that's where everything lives that I work on. So I work on costumes. I like to talk about anything and everything Star Wars related. I also have a podcast called The Dorky Diva Show, and that's where myself and my co-host Brian, we just talk about everything under the sun that we love, which includes Star Wars. We're starting to talk about Lord of the Rings now because I'm a new Lord of the Rings fan.
Oh, cool.
So that's super fun. And I mean, I'm a huge like Clone Wars fan. That's kind of what got me into Star Wars. So that's what I talk about a lot on my blog and a lot of new Star Wars. So that's what lives on the dorkydiva.com. And then what else do I have? I have a podcast called The Working Diva. It's currently on hiatus, but that is a podcast where I can talk about anything and everything work related in a space that's like catered towards women. So some episodes I interview different women and talk about their careers. And then other episodes I talk about, you know, anything work related, sort of like just like how to organize your workspace, how to organize your work life, things like that.
It's like general
I have
productivity sorts of things,
Yeah.
kind of
Productivity
self-improvement.
advice, just like my personal story and the things that I've done. And so there's that. Trying to think of what else I do.
And if I can say as a guy, I've learned stuff from the Working Diva.
Oh, thank
So,
you. I appreciate
yes.
that.
I think it's a great show. You have some really awesome stuff that you put out there with it, and I've learned stuff from it. So yeah, very
Thank
good.
you.
You also
Thanks.
have an audio drama.
I do. So must have been a year, almost 2 years ago. Brian and I decided that we wanted to make an audio drama, and that kind of stemmed from the official Star Wars audio drama, Dooku Jedi Lost. And I listened to that and I was like, this is fascinating. And this is very much like a podcast in a sense. You know, it's only audio, it's not visual. And I was like, I think we could do something like this. And so I texted him one day and I said, I want to make a Star Wars audio drama. And he was like, great, that's been on my bucket list for years. Let's do it. And I was like,
Nice.
okay. So he wrote the story. He found all of our cast. He's responsible for a large part of the project. I was just there to thumbs up and say, yes, approve, keep going. Yes, I like that person.
The hard part.
The hard part, right?
Yeah.
And then we brought on board an amazing sound designer. Her name is Christina Moores, and we found her through our like podcasting community as well. She had been a listener of the Dorky Diva show, and we just like got to know her as a friend, and we knew she was really good at sound design. So we brought her on board. And then towards the end, I was like promoting the show, doing those things, but I did not voice a character in the story. I did not edit or touch any of that. So, you know, it turned out great, not because of me, but because of everybody else that worked on it. And we announced in May that we are making a sequel currently. So that's currently underway and very exciting. But that was a really fun project. And I really got excited to be like, wow, audio dramas need to be more mainstream. I feel like maybe that was something that was a little older, but these days I'm like, why aren't more people doing this? It's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're fun to listen to too. And I think there's a lot that can be done in the audio space that, you know, you don't have to worry about lighting and camera resolution and things like that. But if you've got some good sound effects and you have someone who's good with audio editing,
yeah,
like, there's a lot you can do. It's almost like animation. You don't have to worry about sets and special effects. You just draw whatever your mind comes up with. And it's a similar thing with audio. So
yeah, and we did everything from home. So we had started writing the story and casting everybody and recording before like coronavirus happened, but we really started editing and finishing up recording after that happened. And it was just great to be able to do everything from home remotely. I live in Seattle, Brian lives in Florida, and Christina lives in California. So we're literally working on 3 different points of the country on one thing. So that was really fun. And we had a few different voice actors overseas contributing as well.
Nice.
So it was neat to see like so many different people coming together to work on it, and you didn't have to be in the same place. So I think it's a lot more approachable than like fan films.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot more fun sometimes too, because fan films a lot of times are shorter. They're, you know, 5, 10, 15 minutes. And
yeah.
And this one was what, an hour? And is the next one about expected to be about the same length?
The next one might be a tad longer, but it'll be close to an hour. Yeah.
Nice. Now you skipped something. Kind of. Now I see in the background you've got a Zam Wessel partial outfit there, and there's a lot of I've got your website up here in a different screen. You do a lot of designs. I see accessories in here. You worked for Her Universe with Ashley for a while, right?
Yeah, so I met Ashley as a fan when I was 14. I met her at Star Wars Weekends at Disney, and she is like the most amazing person ever. And that was right before she started Her Universe. So Her Universe came out a month later, and she told everybody about it at Star Wars Weekend. She was like, I'm launching a clothing brand on June 22nd. Like, please check it out. Here are stickers with like the link and everything. Go to this link on June 22nd. And I was a huge Her Universe fan because at the time there was like no apparel for women, you know, and I'm pretty short. I'm 5'2". So even a men's small t-shirt is like really long on me. And it was always difficult to find clothes that fit right. And it was difficult to find clothes that didn't look super masculine.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a Her Universe shirt right now. It's like an old Clone Wars shirt.
Nice.
But I was a fan of the brand for about 10 years and got to know Ashley over the years and got to work with her on some small projects. And when I was graduating college, about 3 months before I graduated college, I saw that Her Universe had a job posting for a video producer. And at the time I was interning for an agency and I was doing video production. That's not what I was studying in school, but I just happened to be doing it and I really liked it. So I texted her and I was like, hey, Ashley, I really want this job. And she goes, great, I can't help you, but just fill out the application. She's like, I'm not the person that gets to pick, you know, who gets the job, but you should definitely apply. And I was like, okay. So I applied and I went through 3 months of interviews and I got the job. Yeah, it was a long process. Got the job. I moved from Orlando to Anaheim right after Celebration Orlando in 2017.
Okay.
So everything happened pretty quickly. I got the job in March, moved in April, and that was a pretty big culture shock for me. I'm from a really small town in Florida, so moving to like the LA area was pretty interesting to say the least.
I bet.
It was a big change. But I had so much fun at that job. It was awesome. And Her Universe is owned now by Hot Topic. So I was working on stuff for Hot Topic, Her Universe, and Box Lunch, which is also owned by Hot Topic. So I got a lot of exposure to those different brands at the time. And basically my job was to video all the different fashion collections that were coming out from all three of those brands and edit fashion videos for YouTube and social media. And then I also got to run all of the Her Universe social media. So that was super fun. And the best part of that job was like getting to be around Ashley so much because she is just as nice in person as she is behind the scenes. And that's something I like to tell people is everybody's like, wow, she's so nice. Is she really like that in person? And I'm like, yes, I have seen her on probably some of her hardest days. And yes, she is still always that nice. Like, that's just who she is.
And that's big because a lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a public face and then the one that's not so public. And quite honestly, even not knocking that. Sometimes that's just you know, what you have to do. But it is nice to hear that people are as nice as we perceive them to be.
Yeah. She was always so thoughtful because the team that I worked with, we worked in a separate part of the office that everybody else worked in. So there was like the main office, and then we were in the back in like a soundproof studio. And a lot of people would forget about us. And so sometimes when people would throw like office parties or have food out, like they would totally forget about us.
Oh, gosh.
And we would have no idea that stuff was going on. And she always remembered us. So a lot of the time she would buy pizza for like the whole office, and she would make sure that like we got a pizza. You know, she brought us a pizza. Yeah. So it was just really great.
I gotta say, I love that so many of the celebrities involved in Star Wars are like that. Like they're genuine, real people who care about the people around them and stuff. I've met Ashley a couple of times. Tim Morrison is another one that's like that. I've seen him interact with so many fans on such a very personal level. And I mean, I could go on and on. I'm sure you could do the same thing. It's nice to be part of a fandom where the people involved in that fandom, for the most part, the vast majority of them are so engaged and invested in the people who helped put them where they are. And that's I have a lot of respect for celebrities who are real people. I think that's a big deal.
That's something I learned too when I was working with her was because I was like running her social media at conventions, I would be with her everywhere. And she's obviously interacting with so many cast members and stuff. So it was really cool to see like those people and how nice they were, you know, and how personable they were. I remember one time I got to meet Alan Tudyk at the show at midnight.
Yeah, cool.
And he was so nice.
He is amazing.
Like, he was so sweet.
He's a fun guy.
Yeah, so that was really
He's a mushroom?
That's awesome. That's good, Tim.
Lou just said he was a fun guy.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I did too.
Let's not with the dad jokes. I mean, that was good though. I'll give you that. So
yeah, he was one of the really sweet ones.
Yeah, he is.
Cool.
So I got to ask you, I'm the only one on this call who is not somehow involved in cosplay. I figure, you know, you two guys have the Mud Trooper. We see the Zam Wessel thing there. My face looks enough like an alien. I figure I can save some money on a lot of that stuff. So, but tell us, like, how far have you gotten in this Zam Wessel thing? Because I know you've got some of it on your website.
Oh, man. Yeah. So this is like a very personal thing for me. So I have been working on costumes for probably 9 years now.
Wow.
About 9 years. Not a lot, you know, just a few like here and there. But I started about 9 years ago. And at the time, I really wanted a Zam Wessel costume. Like, I just thought her costume was the
It's
coolest.
a cool costume.
But
and you rarely see
so
it in
cool.
cosplay too. So.
And there's a reason why you rarely see it. So it's extremely difficult to make, and it's extremely expensive.
I bet.
And when I first started, I was 16. So I had a, you know, part-time summer job. I didn't really have a lot of money. And I didn't have the skills to do a lot of stuff, but I've always wanted to do that costume. And over the years, I've like kind of gained different skills, and I've started sewing a lot more and things like that. And I've always had Google alerts set up for her boots. So Zam wears Prada shoes. She is she is a fancy girl. She is a fancy girl. So the shoes that she wears are from 1999, and they're made by Prada. And if you find a pair these days, they run for about $1,500 online.
Wow.
And that's insane. But I've had Google alerts set up for 9 years to find these boots. And so every
And in
time
your
those
size.
keywords and in my
Yeah, that's
size,
another
and
thing.
there's a correct color too. I needed a certain color.
Mm.
So over the years, I get emails, every week with the keywords like, oh, here's a pair. And some of them aren't the right pair. Some of them are. Some of them are way too expensive. And back in February of this year, I got an email that a pair went up for sale. They were a store display. They had never been worn. They were my size. They were the right color. And I got them for $160.
What?
Wow.
Yes.
No way.
So when that happened, I was like, this is a sign. Like, I'm supposed to do this now. This is it. I'm buying them and I'll figure out the rest later. So I bought them. And then
$160 for any cosplay boot
Right?
is
They're
like a heck of a
gorgeous
deal.
shoes, too.
I mean, that's
gorgeous.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was beyond excited about that. Like I've
I
probably never, I had like a rush that day. It was probably for several days. I had like a rush of excitement. And so that was really exciting. And from there, I was like, okay, well now I have to find the neoprene, because she wears a neoprene bodysuit and it's a very specific color. And that's another thing that most people can't find. So they don't get very far with that costume. And I was like, I got to start with that first, because if I can't find that, there's no point in wasting my time on everything else. I'll just wear the boots out in the fall, like the jeans,
Sure.
I'll just have the boots.
Yeah.
So
For that price, absolutely.
yeah.
Heck, for that price, I'd wear them.
They're
I mean,
simple. Yeah. So I did some searching and I ended up finding some neoprene that was perfect. And then I was like, okay, now I need to sew the neoprene. And I'm not that good of a seamstress. So I spent, it was probably 3 weeks. I really started working on like making the pattern and figuring out how to construct the pants and the shirt. And I figured it out quicker than I thought I would. So I finished that. And then I was like, okay, now I need to make her vest, which is made out of lambskin leather. It's also purple. Here we go. I've never made anything out of leather before. So I made that, it worked out. And I was like, all right, this is going well. Like, this is going way better than I thought it would. So then I made her skirt, and the skirt is made up of 192 rectangles that you hand dye, each one a different color. You hand punch. I think it was 768 holes that I had to punch by hand.
you know that if you ever sell this,
when you were doing that and you posted those pictures on Instagram, and I was floored. Like that.
My hand has never hurt
crazy.
that much in my life, because
I bet.
it's metal that you're banging together.
you would be able to sell this completed costume for about $27,000. You know that, right? Like it's going to be
Yes.
a one of a kind.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's not only the difficulty of the project, but it's also the time that goes into it that makes it such a hard thing to put together. And that's why you don't really see many of them. So I put the skirt together, that went well. And that's when I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Like it's going to happen. And I know someone that has access to the molds for her armor and all her greeblies and her helmet. And they were so nice. And they made me all those parts. So I got those
wonderful.
a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super, super, super nice. He's known that I've wanted to do this for so long. When I met him like 9 years ago, and I told him I wanted to do a Zam costume, so he knew. So I've been putting those together for the last week, and I've gotten quite a bit done. I'm just waiting on some paint to arrive now so I can paint some of the stuff, but it's coming together.
So how close do you think you are? Like what kind of percentage?
It's hard to say a percentage, but in terms of gathering all the supplies I need, I have probably 90% of the supplies. The only thing I have left to buy are some brass tubes to put her binoculars onto the helmet. I have all the leather I need to make. I have her blaster to put together. I have the fabric to make her cape and her veil. I have pretty much everything.
So you're in the home stretch now.
I'm in the home stretch.
That's awesome. That is incredible.
So, yeah. So I'm planning to have it done by the end of the year so I can wear it to Emerald City Comic Con. But I honestly think I'll have it done maybe in the next 2 months. So I'm so excited.
And hopefully you'll be wearing it to Celebration next year.
Yeah.
Yes. I have some very exciting things planned for Celebration for this costume that I'm not sharing online. It'll be a surprise.
Cool.
But it's going to be very fun.
Nice.
I'm excited.
Wow, very cool.
You know,
So what other costumes have you done?
So for myself, I've not made very many because, like I said, I'm 5'2", so I've always wanted to be a clone trooper, but I don't want to be a short clone trooper, and that's also very difficult to make work for your body. So the first costume that I ever had was a Jedi costume, and my mom made that for me. So ever since I was like, I don't know, maybe 10, she's been making Star Wars costumes for me to wear to Star Wars weekends. We used to go to Star Wars weekends a lot at Disney because we lived in Florida. And then I started making my own. And after that, I made a Shadow Scout. So I have a Shadow Scout costume.
Nice.
And that's pretty much all I have. Like, I don't have very many costumes. I've just helped a lot of other people build their costumes. But I kind of got out of it. Like, after college, once I started working, it was like, all right, I have less free time to work on these things. But, you know, with the pandemic, I have all the time in the world. So
Right, yeah.
that's why I kind of got back into it. I was like, well, there's not a whole lot to do on the weekends now. I might as well sew and, you know, have little projects to do here and there.
Sure.
So yeah, I
Nice.
only have a few costumes, but it's exciting to kind of feel excited to do that again because I really got out of it for a long time and I never thought I would make anything ever again.
It is truly amazing how helpful the cosplay community is.
Yeah.
Across all fandoms, really. But I mean, people are willing to help and lend advice and support, and you build those. Yeah, and you build those skills, and then you get something done. You're like, "Ooh, I could do it better this way." Then you got to redo it again. So now, you know,
I have a question.
I'm redoing
That's why
parts
I've
of
been
my
putting
costume
together
now.
vlogs.
It's just,
Because so many people that have built the Zam Wessel costume, a lot of them built it right after Attack of the Clones came out.
Right.
And on a lot of the costuming forums, there are a lot of images that are broken links now because they were hosted on PhotoBucket, and PhotoBucket basically doesn't exist.
Right.
Sure.
So
right.
it's been really hard for me to find a lot of stuff. But thankfully, when I started researching this costume like 9 years ago, I learned a lot just from researching it. So even before I started it, I knew kind of how to put everything together. But like I said, there's not a ton of information out there online right now. So I've been trying to do, I need to do one more update, but I've been trying to compile blog posts with, you know, everything that I've learned, the colors that I mixed to make my dyes, the leather weights that I bought, things like that, because it's just, it's so difficult to find out. And a lot of people have reached out and said, hey, do you take commissions? And I'm like, I don't take commissions because I don't have time, but I will tell you everything I have in my brain for you to make this. Like, I will tell you all the steps you need to take to do this.
Yeah. I've got some questions for you about the Star Wars community in general, but first it sounded like Tim was about to ask something. I don't want to cut him off. I mean, I kind of do want to cut him off, but I'm not really going to.
I was just going to ask if you're going to go for bonus points by doing a Claudite mask to occasionally. Oh, the look on her face. Okay, all right, I got
it. Looks exactly like this right here. In case you need like a point of reference.
That's the cool thing about Zam is I feel like, you know, her costume is the same throughout, but she's got the rifle. She's got her changeling face. She's got the tubes with the centipedes. Like, I plan to have it all of it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's nice to have flexibility with a character. And even though she really didn't have a lot of screen time, I mean, she was just kind of like this one-off character that just did this short little plot point thing, and there was a chase, and that was it. But they still showed a lot of her, and I agree. I always thought she was a really cool character.
You know, they do that a lot
I'm
with Star Wars. They introduce a character for a few minutes and then they're off screen, but you kind of have to fill in the blanks. There are implications about the characters' backstories, and then certain costumes just stand out. And I think hers was one that stood out.
You know why she's not in the movie a lot? Because you can't move in this costume.
That I believe.
There's not a lot you can do in it.
That I believe.
Well, you know, Tim, I was going to say, you know, there's another costume that we may have a version of that doesn't have a lot of screen time either, Tim. Mud Troopers.
That's true. There is not a whole lot of Mud Trooper.
Oh, bless your heart. I know too much about those and how hard it is to find reference.
It was, do you have a Mud Trooper story?
My husband is like very into costuming as well, and he makes a lot of custom sideshow figures.
Oh, wow.
And he has been making a mud trooper. So I know too much from him about like the pieces and the colors and the cape, and is it brown or is it gray or is it,
no one can answer that question.
Exactly.
Even in the 501st forums, like there's debates, like some people say it's green, some people say it's not. But the best thing is that it's Soviet surplus. So whatever color it ends up being is great.
Yeah, that's the problem with Zam is in every photo, there's very few reference pictures of her, but in every photo, the purple changes. And even when I photograph my costume, every picture looks different. So I kind of had to choose like what direction I was going in and just stick with it. Like I have a Pantone swatch that I'm like, this is my color. This is the one I have to go with. Because if you look at too many pictures, your brain starts to like get a little twisted and you're like, oh my God, is it magenta? Is it purple? Like what is going on here?
Yeah.
So one of the people in our chat room had a question, which is kind of similar to one of the things I wanted to ask you, because you're really plugged into the Star Wars community and conventions and social media and all this kind of stuff. And I've got a couple questions regarding that, but he was asking, this is Joe in our chat room, what experience have you had that Star Wars fans would find surprising? And kind of tied to that, I wanted to ask you if you had any moments specifically in the context of kind of being a, I guess, content creator in the context of Star Wars fandom or attending conventions or experience with the fan community in general. Anything that stands out to you?
Oh my gosh, so much.
I bet you've got a list
right now
of
just thinking about it. Yeah. So I had something happen a few years ago that was like really upsetting. It was really difficult for me to go through, and I had like dozens of people reach out to me and send me emails and messages, and just they were so supportive. And some people even sent me handwritten letters, like they hand wrote me a letter. They sent me a little
still
care
do that
package.
anymore.
Like
that's awesome.
It was shocking. I kept them all, like I have them all, and it was just like I don't even know these people. They just know me from my blog or Instagram or whatever it may be, and I might know their name, but I may have never met them in person. So that's always been really surprising to me, is how just generous and loving people are. And I think a lot of people tend to focus on like the Star Wars fandom is toxic and all that. And yes, there are totally bad people in the fandom, but my experience has been largely very positive, and I try to make it a positive experience as well. I just ignore things that bother me and just kind of like shake it off. But it's incredible to me how many people I've met from all over the world who are so kind and caring and care about my well-being, and it only comes from the fact that we both like Star Wars. That's the only thing we have in common. So I think that's really cool. And I've met like all of my close friends I've met through Star Wars. I met my husband at Celebration. Like my life is Star Wars. It's hard to separate myself from that. But yeah, I've had such a positive experience in the fan community, and it's really amazing to see people come together, for the greater good. And I just saw recently, like, JW Rinsler, he's not doing well health-wise, but man, so many people came together to like support him. And I was just like, that's amazing. Where else are you going to find that? Like, you don't see that every day. So I think that says a lot about the Star Wars community. And anytime people want to complain about the fandom or just drama going on, it's like, yes, that exists and that is not good. But think about all of the good stuff that does happen and how much more, you see the good.
So it's almost like you're using the Force, because the next question I was going to ask, to oversimplify, was going to kind of be, what is the Star Wars fan community doing well? And what could it do to improve? And I know that the last few years have been difficult in the Star Wars fan community, because like when I first started going to Celebration conventions and, and I met these guys and stuff, it was all very inclusive and all of that. And then all these rifts started popping up and this divisiveness, and it's a small group of people making a lot of loud noises and getting a lot of attention. But when you get down to it, the vast majority of the people you interact with are all people like us who we care about one another. We want each other to be able to embrace whatever aspect of Star Wars fandom is important to us. And I think sometimes it can be hard to focus in on the good when the bad is being so loud. And that's something we've always kind of tried to encourage people to focus on what's good about Star Wars and what's good about the community. But I am kind of curious, kind of in the light of what we can do to bring it back to something that is even better than it is today. What do you think the community can do to move forward and to improve and grow in a healthy way?
I think the biggest answer is to let people like what they like, period. Mm-hmm. If they like Reylo, let them like Reylo. I'm not a Reylo, but I don't care if you are. That's great. Oh, enjoy it. If you love Rebels, great. If you love The Rise of Skywalker, great. Enjoy what you want to enjoy. And, I feel like these days in Star Wars, there are a lot of things that I don't like, but that's fine. There's so much Star Wars stuff being made that I don't even have to consume it all. I can choose to consume what I think I will enjoy, or if I start to watch or read or consume something and I don't like it, I can just stop. I can just move on to the next thing. And it's not a big deal, And I think that's a big problem is people are so precious about the things that they like and dislike, and they want other people to like and dislike the same things they like and dislike. And I don't understand that. I just think that's weird. Mm-hmm. I also think a lot of the time, ever since I've been in the Star Wars fandom, there's always been some sort of sense of a popularity contest. You've got to have the podcast with the biggest following. You've got to have the blog with the biggest, amount of readers. You've got to blog, all that stuff. And it's who cares? Just enjoy what you're doing, for crying out loud. Just
and it can be so hard to try to maintain that. Once you achieve that, we had a lot of success back when we were on the Forcecast, and it was so much work keeping up with it. And I'm actually happier now with these goofballs, just hanging out and talking about whatever we feel like talking about that week, and stop trying to chase that popularity contest, like you said. Just be normal.
It's easy to get wrapped up into, but it's also so freeing when you let go of that. For a hot minute, I was like, man, I really wish we could podcast every week and talk about all the new Star Wars stuff coming out. And now I'm just I don't care. I'm just here to hang out with my best friend and talk about the things we love and just have fun. And that's something I've really taken to heart in the last year, just having fun with the stuff I enjoy, kind of not even talking about the stuff I'm not enjoying. I don't want to sit on a podcast for an hour talking about something I didn't even like. That's not productive, Right. So I think the popularity contest is a problem, and people just need to let people like the things that they like. Just get over it. Let them enjoy it, It's not hurting anybody. Right. It's not.
Yep.
And there's so much now, like you were saying. When I was growing up in Star Wars back in, 1991, and the Heir of the Empire came out, if you wanted more Star Wars, that was it. Now, I liked it, but if for some reason I hadn't have liked it, I still would have kept reading it because it was the only thing around. And now, you've got Rebels, you've got Mandalorian, you've got, Bad Batch.
There's so much, and so
movies,
much to come.
Comics, books, So what's coming up that you're interested in? What's got your attention right now for the future of Star Wars?
Kenobi. Just so
some old guy hanging out on a desert watching flecks of sand fly by. You're one of those people, huh?
I'm one of those people.
So why these guys know how it's a running joke that I hate Tatooine and the sand and it gets everywhere. And, but seriously,
I'm excited because
why are you excited for
I was a kid when the prequels came out. And so I remember being 10 years old, watching Revenge of the Sith, collecting cereal boxes to have the trading cards on them. And I wanted the Obi-Wan trading card, and I needed my friends to go buy me their Fruit Loops box so I could have their trading card, all that stuff. So to me, it's very much a sentimental aspect that reminds me of my childhood. And I love Ewan McGregor. I love Obi-Wan. So it's mostly based on that. I don't even care what the story's about.
You just want more.
Whatever. I might not even like it. I'm just excited to see him again.
I mean, he was the best character in the prequels, I think.
He's great. I love him. So I'm very excited about that. I'm also
except not that
Major Jar Jar.
No, Tim.
Major Jar Jar. Tim.
Oh my gosh!
Jar Jar
oh,
fan.
you've corrupted her.
I like Jar Jar.
I'm here for you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Jar.
Savannah.
Yeah. Oh. Now I feel like I need to go on a Jar Jar tangent, but I won't.
You can. You've got the most avid fan here in the room with you, so.
We can make this a Jar Jar safe space. I can mute the other guys.
I don't mind Jar Jar.
You just need to come on the Dorky Diva show, and we'll just talk about Jar Jar for like an hour and a half.
Gosh.
I mean,
I'm in.
Do that.
I've never minded Jar Jar, but like Tim, you're a little bit over the top. Like you. So okay, so Kenobi, you're excited about that.
I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Andor. I think Rogue One has been my favorite piece of new Star Wars content since the Disney buyout. So I'm really excited about that. And I think the last thing that I'm really pumped for is the Acolyte. It just sounds like we don't have a lot of information on it, but what we have so far just sounds so different from anything we've seen before in Star Wars. So I'm hoping that is good. I'm hoping I like it.
We've not had a story like that is kind of seemingly so focused in the darkness. You know, I mean, Vader and his whole story arc was obviously a very dark thing, but this is a little bit different, and it seems more focused. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with this and how they're going to do it. I'm really excited, and obviously with everything that we've seen with the Mandalorian, along with all the Marvel stuff that we've seen on Disney Plus. I mean, my level of confidence for Kenobi, for the Acolyte, for all this, really high, hugely high.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for all of it. It's going to be a lot, though. I feel like there's so much coming out in the next few years that it's going to be a little overwhelming.
Are you worried about oversaturation?
Yes.
Okay.
And I only say that, I feel like that's such a bad thing to say, but I just feel like it is going to be a lot of stuff, but I do think I'm the kind of person that will be like, I don't need to watch this. Like, I think some of the shows I won't feel obligated to watch. So that'll kind of like free me up a little bit. I'm not going to be watching Star Wars like 24/7.
Right.
But I think there are a few key ones that I'm like definitely going to watch. And even if I start one and I'm not loving it, I might trail off a little bit. I don't feel obligated to sit there and watch every little thing these days. That's something I definitely used to do. I used to watch all of it. But these days I'm just like, if I enjoy it, great. If I don't, move on. Like there's something else.
Yeah, it kind of ties into the whole fear of missing out thing. And I think maybe if we hit that point where you can just be selective and you don't have to keep up with everything, and yet you still have enough to feel satiated, then maybe people will break out of this FOMO mode that they're in all the time.
Yeah, and I think some people, they're such big Star Wars fans that they want to consume everything, but then there's times when they don't enjoy something. Like some people don't like The Bad Batch, but it's like, why do you continue watching it if it's not making you happy? Just turn it off.
Yeah, that was me in Resistant.
Yeah, you don't have. Oh, I didn't watch that either. I started I think I watched the first episode and I just said, you know what? This is not for me. Yeah. I know a lot of people that enjoyed it and loved it, and that's great. It was not my cup of tea, so I didn't continue watching it.
It goes back to what you were saying about podcasting. Like, we kind of did because we podcast about it, but then how much time do you want to spend on the podcast talking about something you don't like, as opposed to things you want people to get excited about? It wasn't bad. I mean, it was good for its intended audience. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It just wasn't for me. But I think that's good.
I think it's just hard these days to cater to everybody.
Right.
It's just impossible to cater to everyone. And at least now they're offering so much stuff that they can kind of cater to the different segments of fans. Right. And if you are somebody that enjoys it all, good for you. I hope you have a lot of time to watch TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of TV watching and book reading and that kind of stuff. And I I mean, hey, I'm still in the middle of the last Thrawn book.
Me too.
It's taken me, and the book is actually fantastic. It's just, I was reading another book when it came out, and life and all that kind of stuff. Some of the books that come out really interest me. Some of them don't. That's fine. And I think, some of the other content as well. And the thing is that if you're not really all that thrilled with the content, there's so much coverage of all of that from podcasts and blogs and YouTube and all that kind of stuff, that if it really ends up being something relevant for something else that Lucasfilm does in the future, you can get yourself caught up pretty quick.
That's
like,
what I
oh my
do.
gosh, I didn't read that book. Google can find me a review of that book, and in 5 minutes, I know what happened in the book.
Yeah, that's what I do. I don't read any of the books, and so I listen to my friends Charlotte and Caitlin at Sky Talkers. They review a lot of the books, and so I'll listen to their hour or hour and a half discussion of the book, absorb all the information, and I saved all the time that I would have spent reading the book. So that works for me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Totally. Absolutely.
Favorite Star Wars character?
Oh man, Cad Bane.
I was going to say, I was reading your How Clone Wars Changed My Life blog post, and I thought, I bet it's Cad Bane. Why?
He is my heart.
I like Cad Bane, but I'm just...
Why not?
Okay, and that's fair. But there are so many awesome characters, and Cad Bane is clearly one of them, don't get me wrong, but why Cad Bane? What is it about Cad Bane that you connected with?
Let me tell you a story, okay? So I was raised on Star Wars. My mom is a big Star Wars fan, grew up watching the original trilogy, watched the prequels. I was immersed in it. My big brother is huge Star Wars fan. It was just like an enormous part of our lives. It was always like his thing though. Like Chase was the Star Wars fan in the family, and he loved Star Wars. And then the Clone Wars came out, and I watched the first season with him, and I was like, this is fun, but I'm not loving it. And I kind of tapered off towards the end of the season. I think I kind of stopped watching. And then Cad Bane shows up. And my brother calls me into the living room. And he's like, Savannah, come here. There's this character I think you're going to love. Like, you got to see this character. And instantly, I don't know what it was, but I was like, whoa, this guy's awesome. And I think it's really like his Western vibe. Like, I'm just a big fan of Westerns. I love that aesthetic. And I don't know, he was just so different from anything I had seen before in Star Wars. So I loved him. He is a huge reason, that character is a huge reason why I'm a fan today. I also love the clones. There's a lot of various clones that I love. I love Fives. I love Wolf. Gotta love Rex, of course. And I'm also a big Han Solo fan, but that's probably because I'm too obsessed with Harrison Ford. So
Good catch, Lou.
Yeah, those are my faves.
And were you thrilled to see Cad Bane come back in Bad Batch?
I was so happy.
Wow, look at that smile on her face.
So long.
Look at that. Oh my gosh.
I was glowing that day. Like I was radiating joy, and it was so funny because I was on vacation when that episode came out, and I was planning on watching it that day, but I had woken up and Brian, my co-host, had texted me and he said, "Don't go on social media until you watch the episode." And in my heart, I knew. I was like, Cad Bane is showing up. Like, he's going to be here.
Wow.
Why else would he text me that? He's never texted me that before. And so I had a feeling, and I literally sat there and scrubbed through the entire episode until I saw his face. And then I stopped and I watched his, 5 minutes or whatever. And then I went back and watched the whole episode. But I was Cloud 9, baby. Cloud 9.
So to the speculation that we might see Cad Bane in live action in the Book of Mandalorian, and there we go. Okay, that answers my question right there.
Let me tell you why. So his character is so great in animation because he's very tall and lanky. He does not have human proportions. And obviously he doesn't have a human face. And I personally feel like some of the aliens in The Mandalorian haven't looked as great as they could. That's just a personal thing.
Yeah.
And I worry that if they bring him into live action, I'm not going to like how they do it. And I enjoy him so much in animation that it's like I want to keep that sacred. I want that to be my happy
I've got
place.
it. Doug Jones.
And
Is it Doug Jones
totally...
who plays
that's what everybody
Star Trek
says,
Discovery?
Yeah.
Because he's done some lanky characters before.
The makeup has to be good. And,
true. It could be CG.
They have to have Corey. It could be CG. And Corey Burton has to do the voice. That's a...
Right.
That is... He has to. Toto has to be there as well. There's a lot of factors that are must-haves for me. And I'm just worried that if they don't check all of those boxes, I'm going to be a little upset.
I can understand that.
I just worry. I feel like personally for me, Ahsoka did not translate well into live action. And I know a lot of people disagree with that statement. That's just where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I've heard people,
and that was
both sides very emphatically. Love it, hate it.
Yeah. And that was hard. And it was difficult for me to watch that character without the presence of Ashley, because I am so close to her and I know how much that character means to her. So that was difficult. And I just worry that if they bring Cad Bane into live action, I'll be disappointed. And I don't want to be disappointed because I'm happy right now with animation.
Yeah.
Cad
If
Bane.
it's not broken, don't fix it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to cut you off with my Doug Jones comment. It just kind of popped in my head there for a minute.
No, just agreeing with Savannah that there are so many cool things that they can do in animation that even with like all the advances in CG and that kind of stuff, they really just sometimes can't hit in live action. You know, they just simply can't do it well. And with Clone Wars and with how long Clone Wars ran and how rich it was in terms of the stories that it told and the worlds that it brought us to and all the different races and characters that it introduced, they did a lot and they were able to do a lot because it was drawn, you know? So, and for the most part, with very little thought toward, oh my gosh, what if we had to make this character live action? You know?
Yeah.
I'm sure that Dave was thinking that maybe with Ahsoka and maybe with a couple of other characters. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure it was just oh, that's a really cool looking character. Let's bring them in and just have them do something. And zero thought to live action, which is fine. That's totally fine because they're focused on the medium they're using. But sometimes the translation doesn't work the way that we want it to.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions or topics we want to throw at her while we have her here? Because, I mean, I could go on for like 3 or 4 hours picking her brain probably. I've got questions about, I'm not even into fashion, and looking over her website at some of these accessories and stuff she's come up with, I've got all kinds of questions, but...
Oh, well, can I talk about that for a minute? I totally forgot about that part.
Please do.
So, I guess it was a year ago, I started collaborating with my great friend, Tori. So Tori makes accessories and jewelry on her Etsy store, Creature Cartel, and she's so good at what she does. And I was like, man, those are so cool. And at the time I had been really thinking about like opening a small shop just to sell t-shirts. And that's really for selfish reasons because I want more t-shirts that are of things that I want, you know, like I need to make some Cad Bane shirts soon. So it was a very selfish thing, but I thought, oh, it'd be really fun to get in touch with Tori and design t-shirts and accessories together and have them coordinate so you can kind of make an outfit with them. And we started with focusing on the different female characters in Star Wars. So we have a collection called Celestial Sisters, and each quarter is, I think it's worked out to each quarter, we highlight 2 different characters with an accessory piece and an apparel piece. So we started with Ahsoka and Satine, which was really fun because there's like no Satine merchandise out there. And that was really exciting. Tori made replica earrings of Satine's earrings, so that was really fun. And I partnered with an artist. Her name is Alyssa Bradley because I can't draw. Like I have so many ideas in my head, but I can't get them out, you know?
Yeah.
So Alyssa has taken all of my ideas and turned them into the art that you see on the t-shirts in my shop, which is fantastic. It's so exciting to be like, I've been wanting to wear that and now it exists.
Awesome.
So we did Ahsoka Satine. We did Oh, we did Jin and Enfys Nest, so that was really fun because those are two pretty like underrepresented characters in merchandise. We did Hera and Sabine, which was a big one for me because I love Sabine.
Sabine's awesome.
And yes, she's so cool. And we just announced that our drop for next month, we're doing 3 characters. And it's Zam, of course, Ara Singh, and Fennec Shand. So
cool.
we have an
Nice.
accessory for each of them, and I'll have 2 t-shirts. So the one t-shirt is just Fennec, and then the other one is Zam and Ara together, because I wanted something with both of them on it. So those will be coming in the next month.
Okay. And people can find
Very
all
cool.
of these at thedorkydiva.com. You can get links to them that way, right? Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I was browsing through the Celestial Sisters Edition 3 stuff here earlier today.
It's been so fun. It's just, I don't know, it's exciting to think of something and think, oh, will people even like this? Will people buy this? Is this even going to translate into art? And then I talk with Alyssa, and she comes up with concepts, and we really refine the design. And then to see it fully done, it's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's always so exciting to get like a text from her because I know she's sending me art. And then it's cool to see like people wearing them.
Yeah.
You know, I've had a lot of people tag me on my Instagram like wearing the shirt, so that's
People
really cool.
want this stuff,
Nice.
and
Cool.
it's
Yeah.
not out there. I mean, part of what made Ashley successful is she's good at what she does, but also it was in identifying that there is this desire that has been untouched for so long. And
Yep.
it's still like, even with her universe, that's just like the tip of the iceberg. There's still people who want even more of this stuff. So this is smart. You need
Yeah.
to keep doing this. And it's
Yeah.
good stuff too.
One
I mean,
thing-
this is amazing.
It's also cool to find the unique stuff that you don't find
Right.
like in mass market stores.
Exactly.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that means so much more to me buying something from somebody
hell
that
yeah.
created it.
I would pay 4
for the
times as
fans,
much
not just
for the same thing if it's more unique and more creative, and it's kind of got that like real fan connection instead of like a quote marketing connection, you know?
Yeah.
It's more
Well,
meaningful.
something I learned too when I worked with Ashley. So one of the last things I worked on at her universe was I helped her design the Clone Wars collection that came out a few years ago. I was on a plane like coming back from Florida, and she texted me and she's like, hey, I need to design a Clone Wars collection and I need them finalized tomorrow. And I was like,
Wow.
Whoa.
okay.
No pressure.
Yeah. And she's like, she goes, I know you're a big Clone Wars fan. Can you help me with some ideas? So I spent my plane trip writing down ideas, you know, and Satine was one of the characters I wanted to highlight. And she goes, I love this idea, but unfortunately we can't make this because there's a minimum order quantity. You have to make, I don't know what the number was, but let's say it's 1,000 pieces. You have to make 1,000 of these pieces to sell in the Her Universe store. And are there 1,000 people out there that will buy Satine stuff? Maybe, maybe not. That's, you know.
Yeah.
So
And from a business
know.
perspective, that's a tough decision to
Right.
make. You know.
yeah. In my situation, all of my shirts are made to order, so I don't have stock of hundreds of shirts waiting to be sold. It's like, if you want a shirt, great, I'll make you a shirt. You know, like I don't have to worry about the risk of things like not selling, which is nice because then I can really do whatever I want.
You know, it's bittersweet because on one side, I've known for most of the time I've been a Star Wars fan, which is almost literally my entire life. And I'm not as old as Lou, of course, but I don't want to say how old I am on the show. Yeah, every episode, right? But I've always known a lot of women who are Star Wars fans, and they can't find clothing and accessories and stuff. Or again, if they do, it's like the stuff at Walmart, Target, and stuff like that. And between Her Universe, some of the people with Etsy stores and the stuff you're doing, it's like, I'm jealous. I want this. Like I'm wearing this. Actually isn't bad. I got this from a vendor at one of the Celebration conventions, but most of the Star Wars t-shirts I have, they're all like Walmart, Target, stuff like that. I want the cool stuff too. And I'm excited that there's an entire massive section of fandom who's had nothing for all these years, and now not only are they getting things, but they're getting like really good quality stuff. I just also want some really good quality stuff because now ours is
Hey, I try to offer a lot of my shirts in men's sizes, just saying.
do you?
The designs might be a little more feminine. I try to keep that in mind now.
Define feminine. I mean, if it's colorful and stuff, that doesn't necessarily have to equate to feminine.
Yeah. The first one I did with Ahsoka and Satine had like flowers on it.
Okay.
And, very like pastel colors. And that was made for women.
Sure.
And I had a few guys ask if they could buy them, and I was like, sure, I can make them in a men's shirt if you want to buy one. And so I did that, and then from there I was like, okay, let me try to keep in mind that, like, if a guy wants to buy this, will it be overtly feminine? Like, is there a way I can make it a little more unisex? So the next collection coming out is something I think men and women will really like.
Cool. I'm totally there. Absolutely.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your designs are fantastic.
I'm even go back again over your old stuff too, just in case.
For folks who haven't caught it, the dorkydiva.com. And I mean, along with all the other stuff that Savannah's mentioned, her shop on there has all of her designs. So definitely check that out.
And the audio drama and the podcast show and the other podcast show and the blog. Fortunately, you have the foresight and the wisdom to bring them all under one umbrella at thedorkydiva.com, so people can go to that one hub and access all of those things.
It's been a lot of work.
I can tell. Like, just there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, I have to give the credit to my brother for the name, because the blog that I started when I was 13 was, get ready for this, it was called Pandas, Lightsabers, and Cameras, Oh My. Because those were the three things I was very into at the time.
Yeah. All right.
And as I got older, I was like, you know what? This name has got to go. Like, it has got to go.
It's better than most of the names I come up with, though.
Yeah. Well, I can't come up with names. I'm terrible at it. So my brother came up with the Dorky Diva, and I was like, I like that. And it's very broad. It's not specific to anything. It's not specific to Star Wars. It can be whatever it wants.
So as your interests move and shift over the years, you can still maintain that.
Exactly.
It's very brandable. It's representing both your channel, if you will, and you as a person. I mean, that's some really good. We need to hire her brother on for some projects too. I think that's good. You did a good job.
He's a good one. He's a great brother.
That's good. All right. Well, we want to thank you again for being here. In addition to the dorkydiva.com, where can people find you online, like Instagram and Twitter and all of these other socially media things?
At the Dorky Diva.
Okay.
At the Dorky Diva everywhere.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. This was so fun.
Thank you for hanging out with us here. For everybody out there, hold on, because before we hang up, a couple other things for you. But for you guys out there, you're done. Sorry, we're pulling the plug. Thank you for hanging out with us, especially everybody in the chat room. Oh, one last question. What do you think Hera's future is? Do you think we're going to see her again? Also, maybe live action?
Ooh, I think we'll see her in live action.
I think so too. I think that's coming.
And I would be excited to see her in live action. I'm not nervous about that
one. Yeah. I mean, we've seen Twi'leks before. I think that could work out pretty well. So, especially if it's Vanessa Marshall doing it, that would be cool. Oh. But that's going to do it for the Forcecast. Thank you for hanging out with us. Be sure to go to randomchatter.com/YouTube and hit the subscribe and like button. Now that we've got the shows over there, you can watch us in addition to just listening to us. You can go to randomchatter.com to catch all the podcasts. And that is going to be it. We will see you again in a week. Until